Hello, the Baron's Game Room. I'm Aaron as always, although I am in a different corner than usual of the game room. I think it's about time we got back to your regularly scheduled broadcast. But real quick, before I get on to the regular video, I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to all of our supporters that ended up backing us over on BackerKit for our campaign for the cure here. It was funded thanks to you guys. Thank you guys so much. For those that may not have somehow heard of this, even though it's like all I've been doing for the past month, our videos about this. The Cure is our little hidden role social deduction game. We technically published it a couple years back, but now we're doing a larger print run that'll be at a better price. And yeah, thank you guys so much for that. We really appreciate it. And let's get on to the normal video. So I actually filmed this video last week, but I wasn't happy with it, so let's try this again. Today I'm going to go over a game that's kind of been my most recent, I don't know, I guess obsession's the word. I've really been into this game called Goita, or technically this version is Pokemon Goita. Now, if you haven't heard of it, don't worry. Goita is, from my understanding, a kind of like regional game played over in Japan with a set of shogi pieces. So you don't actually have to buy the game like I did. If you have a set of shogi pieces around, then you can go ahead and just play this game with those. But if you see this video and decide that it looks pretty cool, you can get the same thing I have. This Pokemon Goita is fairly available. I think I bought this on eBay for like $30 or something like that. Of course, there was shipping. But yeah, the box is all in Japanese and all that, but the rules inside are actually in English. There's a few bits that are not translated great, but hey, that's why I'm doing this video, so you can learn how to play Goita. The real quick basics on this before we go to the table are Goita, the best way I can describe it is it's sort of a call and response game. It's similar to trick-taking, but instead, in a trick-taking game, whenever you play out a card, every other player at the table needs to play the same suit as the one you played out of sorts. But in Goita, it's not everyone, it's just the next player has to play it. And if they can't play it, they have to pass, and then that player has to play it. So it's sort of, I guess, a one-at-a-time trick-taking-esque thing. Where basically, when I explained to someone, they called it a rotating trump. Let's just get to the table and actually talk about it. Okay, let's open up Pokemon Goita here. You can see it's all in Japanese here, but the rules are in English. But there are a little bit of things that like aren't translated perfectly. So hopefully this video kind of helps smooth out some of the stuff I was staring at, like, what's that mean? Player mat here is also double-sided in Japanese and English. And then here's our little pieces here. We'll go over a quick overview of these. Looking at a piece, you can see that the name of the Pokemon is up in the left. The equivalent shogi piece is over in the top right. Down in the bottom left, you see how many points each one is worth. We'll get into that here in a sec. And then over on the bottom right, you see how many times, how many copies there are. So there's 4 Raichus amongst all 32 tiles. Like I said, this comes with a nice little handy map, but you don't need this to play or anything. Quick, this is a 4-player game, specifically a team-based 4-player game. So 2 versus 2. 2 players will be the black team, and then 2 players will be the white team. You'll always be sitting opposite of your teammate. Don't mind my mess over there. I'm working on a project. Now, there are these 2 blank tiles that come with the game. These are just for keeping track of your score here, so you can just give each team one of these, and again, they'll use that to sort of keep track of points throughout the game. Otherwise, there's 32 of these other pieces. Like I've said several times now, this is just a standard shogi set. The game technically does have some rules about randomly determining who your teammate is, like taking the 2 kings and 2 pawns and mixing them up and dealing 1 to each player, and then whichever 2 players get the 2 pawns, whichever players get the 2 kings, those are your teams. But, you know, you could obviously just decide on your own or find any other kind of randomization to get your teams. You'll also need to decide who the first dealer is at the table. Once you've done that, you need to turn all the tiles face down, give them a good shuffle, and then turn them into a circle. All right, there's my bad, ugly circle. Once you have that, the player to the right of the dealer, is going to pick any one of these tiles, and they're going to say that one. The dealer will then pick up that tile and look at it, and then decide whether or not they want to keep it or go on to the next one. I probably don't want this, so I'll say next one. So I put it back down and then go to the next one in counterclockwise order. I think that's right.
Yes, counterclockwise. You have to keep this one if you decide to go next one. So I'd have to take this, and then every player, one at a time, will start taking the next one in line. So the player to my right takes this one, my teammate across from me takes that one, the player to my left takes this one, and then I take this one, and so on and so forth until the entire circle has been claimed into all the players' hands. Each player should now have a secret hand of 8 tiles. Now hold on real quick before we end up starting the game. Before you start the game, every player needs to look through their hand and count up exactly how many Pidgeys, pawns they have in their hand. If a player has 5 or more Pidgeys, again, pawns, in their opening hand, then some special actions or points can be awarded real quick before we play the game. If you've got this version, the rules for it are all right here. If a player has 5 Pidgeys, then they will declare that they have 5 Pidgeys, and then their partner will decide whether or not they play out this hand or they reshuffle and deal out the hands again. If a player has 6 to 8 Pidgeys, then they will score some points based on their other pieces in their hand, and then they will go ahead and start a new round, shuffle everything up, and go to a new round. And then there are a couple things for if both teams have a hand that has 5 Pidgeys in it. There's 10 Pidgeys in the whole game. So if, say, one of the black team players and one of the white team players both had 5 pawns, Pidgeys in their opening hand, then each team will get to decide whether or not they play the hand or reshuffle. And then lastly, if both players on the same team each have 5 Pidgeys in their opening hand, so 5 for this player and 5 in my hand, then you just immediately win the game. It's not super clear right here. I had to read this several times, and it just states the win condition, which is kind of funny, but I've figured out that it means you get 150 points. So immediately we would win the game for each having 5 Pidgeys. But anyway, let's go on to actually playing the game now. The basics of this game are call and response. Essentially, when it's your turn, you're going to be defending against whatever the current attack Pokemon is, or attack piece, whatever, and then you're going to be playing your own attack piece down. However, if you do not have the piece to defend it, because it has to be matched exactly. So if the current attack piece is a Rattata, the only way to block a Rattata in general is by playing a Rattata of your own. Now, some quick special things to note. As the opening player, whoever starts each hand, I was the dealer, so I get to start the hand. I immediately get to put one of my pieces face down in the defense zone. You'll always go top, bottom, top, bottom. So you'll always be playing either 2 pieces a turn or 0. Never just one, either 2 or 0. Then they get to play their attack one. I'm going to play this Charizard as my attack. Now, the next player needs to either defend with a Charizard or pass. Now, you can choose to pass if you just don't want to play it. Normally, you probably do that in a situation where, like, it's your partner or something like that. You'll probably usually block it if it's an opponent. But yeah, so let's check their hand real quick. The player to my right does not have a Charizard in their hand, so they would have to pass. Funny enough, they actually have the 5 Pidgeys. After them, the player to their right is my partner. Passes to the right, obviously. And look, they actually are holding the other Charizard. So even though they could play it, they're going to choose not to and pass. But if they did choose to play it, then what they'd do is they would play it in their defense zone, and then they'd play their own tile that they want in their attack. So if for some reason my partner chose to block me, they would play a Charizard, then they'd play their Raichu, and now this player needs to defend a Raichu. But we're going to say they passed, which means there's only 2 Charizards in the whole game, so we know that this player also does not have a Charizard. So they're also going to pass. Now that every player has passed and it's back around to me, since nobody defended my Charizard, I get to now place another tile face down in my defense zone and then place down another new attack. So I'm going to place this Ponyta down right here, and then I'll place down a Raichu right there. So now the Raichu is the attacking one to which they can respond. I'm pretty sure we saw they can respond. Yep. So then this player can defend with the Raichu and then place their own attack out. They're holding a lot of Pidgeys, so they're going to say Pidgey. Boom. Anyway, but that's the flow of the game. Defending against whatever the current attacking Pokemon is, or passing and going on to the next player for them to do the same. If nobody blocks your attack, you get to place a free one face down. Because like I said, it's always either 2 tiles or 0 tiles. The round goes until somebody plays out their entire hand. Let's just say that this is how I'm the first one to go out, and this is how it ends up playing out. The last tile I played was this Pikachu. That was the 4th attack one there. So that means my team scores 30 points. Simply take our little tracker here and put it 30 or move up 30, whatever. However, there are some special rules to this. If the last attack one you play matches the last defense one you played, if this were how it were to end, then you actually score double points. So for this, we'd actually score 60 points. Again, this is a team-based game, so if I go out, we get 6, but also if my partner over here goes out, then whatever points they get, we add to our shared score. First to 150 wins the game. Now, this covers everything so far except for the kings. There are some special rules on the kings. Let's go over those real quick. Now, there are a few rules to know about the king pieces here. One is that even though there's technically 2 different Pokemon on them, Mew and Mewtwo, they're both counted as the same piece. They're both just counted as a king. Again, this doesn't matter to you if you're using your normal Shogi set. Another thing to know is that the Mew and Mewtwo, the kings, can block any piece at all. They can block all their pieces except for pawns and lances, which in this game are Pidgeys and Rattata. They can't block a Pidgey or a Rattata. They can block any other piece as a defense. They also cannot be played for attacks, though, except under very specific situations. One situation in which you can play one as an attack is if the other one has already been played. So let's say someone decided to block with a Mew and I was holding the Mewtwo. I could then, if I wanted to, attack with Mewtwo, but only because Mew has already been played as a defense one. You can also play one as an attacker if you're holding both. If you have both kings in your hand, then you can play one as an attack. But this obviously tells everyone that you're holding both the kings. That's the only time you're allowed to do that. And lastly, you can play one of these in the attack spot if it's the last tile you're playing from your hand. So if it's going into this attack 4, if it's the last one you're playing for your whole hand, then you can play it there.
Now, as for my thoughts on Goita, I'm already a huge fan of trick-taking games, which, like I said earlier, this game is kind of like the style call and response thing. It's kind of trick-taking, yes. So that's probably why I latched onto this game so hard so quickly. But also I'm a big fan of abstract strategy games like this, even though this is kind of different. My family played a ton of Moon, which is a trick-taking dominoes game growing up. So like I said, this is just a game that the style is something similar enough to what I really like that I kind of latched on really hard to it. I don't really care for the fact that it's a hard 4-player only game. It's very simply supposed to be a 4-player team-based game. There are some rules online I found for doing like free-for-all modes or like 2- and 3-player games, but the standard rules are for a pretty strict 4-player team-based situation. So yeah, that's a bit of a knock on it. But overall, there's really not much to complain about. I mean, it's very simple. It's something you can really play with about any age for the most part. You can just be sort of a little kid playing down chips wildly, but of course there is lots of strategy to be had on planning out which ones you're going to play, which ones you're going to put face down when you get the opportunity to do that. Like, there's a lot of thinking that can happen in the game, but there could also just be kids being like, Pikachu, haha, you know. Of course, there's the tile counting. If you see there's 3 of them out there, you know you've got the last one. So, like, there's stuff to keep an eye on. There's stuff that can be strategic, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I personally really like that stuff. I think that's why I tend to really be drawn to a lot of abstract strategy stuff. I really love that easy-to-play, difficult-to-master kind of thing. But anyway, like I said, there's not a lot really much to the game overall, so there's not a lot I could say. Clearly, I really enjoy it. I really like the similarities to it. I think if you like trick-taking games, you'll probably dig it. Again, it's not too hard to get a whole of the rules on. And again, if you have a set of shogi pieces, then you don't even need to buy this copy of the game. You can just use my video or go find the rules to play. I will be honest, I actually have been working on some new game ideas of my own based around this mechanic, this kind of call and response mechanic, because I personally haven't seen that in places before. And I said I'm really liking it, so I'm kind of working on my own card games and stuff using it. I actually have made, I think, a full sort of adaptation of the rules that works with a set of dominoes. If you guys are interested in those rules, maybe I'll do a video telling you how to play that version. But anyway, I think it's pretty obvious what this game's going to get rated today.
While I wish it maybe could handle 3 and 4 players better, although again there are rules for it, it's still, I think, a great thinky game that you can play at all ages. Yeah, pretty obviously Baron approved. Oh, and of course, happy Pride Month, y'all.